Welcome to Sex Ed with DB. I'm your host, DB. Let's get into it. Feeling like you and your partner are in a bit of a bedroom rut? Been there. What helped? A little Lion's Den adventure. Whether you're into toys, massage oils, or sexy games, Lion's Den has everything to help couples connect in fun, low-pressure ways. Shopping together can be half the fun. Visit lionsden.com and use code SEXEDWITHDB and get 15% off your purchase. Trust me, date night just got way more interesting. Here are my top 3 favorite things about Uberlube. Number 1, it makes sex feel so much better. Simple as that. Number 2, it's great for sensitive skin and it's doctor recommended. And number 3, it doesn't stain my sheets or my clothes. Just a little soap and water and you're good. If you're ready for smoother, longer lasting pleasure, head to uberlube.com and use code SEXEDWITHDB for 10% off. Hello, DB here, your favorite sex educator and pleasure expert. Welcome to season 12 of Sex Ed with DB. And welcome to our opening segment this season, DB's Pleasure Preview, where I give you a little taste of what we are diving into in this episode, why I feel like it matters, and how it just might change the way that you think about pleasure and sex. If you've been listening to Sex Ed with DB for a while, you know that we love talking about pleasure, but this season we're going all in. We are talking about what pleasure actually is, not just sex, not just orgasms, but everything in between. And we're also rethinking how we make space for pleasure in our day-to-day lives. And in this episode, we are focusing on solo pleasure, specifically masturbation as a wellness practice. Earlier this year, you might have seen, I co-led a study with today's incredible guest, Dr. Candice Nicole Hargons, called the Magic Wand Wellness Study. And yes, it's exactly what it sounds like. 1,000 people with vulvas were sent a magic wand and were asked to track a multitude of things like their sleep, stress, body image, confidence, focus, pleasure, orgasm, relationship connectivity, and much more, all while adjusting their masturbation habits across 3 weeks. It was a longitudinal study. Participants spent 1 week abstaining from sex and masturbation, which we'll get into in the interview with Dr. Candice, 1 week using the magic wand every day, and 1 week going back to their usual routine, sex as usual. The results? Masturbation week improved almost every quality of life measure. People reported better sleep, less stress, improved mood, deeper connection with their partners, which totally flies in the face of the myth that sex toys are a threat to intimacy. And yet, masturbation still isn't treated like a valid form of self-care. We think of it as a backup plan or something that we do when no one else is around or something to feel shame about, instead of a practice that can actually regulate our nervous systems and make us feel more grounded in our bodies. And I'll be honest, doing the study myself was a wake-up call. I had to actually schedule time for pleasure, and it really made me realize how often I treat masturbation like an afterthought. But when I committed to it every day, I slept better. I felt less anxious. I had less physical pain in my body. I felt happier and more in tune with myself. And just so you get a little bit more information on our incredible guest today, she's been on two other times of Sex Ed with DB. She is my good friend and colleague. Dr. Candice Nicole Hargons is a leading sex researcher and associate professor at Emory University's Rollins School of Public Health, where she studies sexual wellness and liberation. Today, Dr. Candice is going to walk us through what we found in the Magic Wand Wellness Study, why it's exciting, and how we can all start treating solo pleasure like the legitimate wellness practice that it actually is. Stick around. You do not want to miss this one. Welcome, Dr. Candice, my good friend. My good friend. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
Oh my God, I'm so good. Third time's a charm for you to be on this show. We have had you on to talk most recently about how Stella got her groove back in Rom-Com
Mhm.
Bomb.
Mhm.
And then before that, we were talking all about pleasure and research and sex. And we're doing it again today with the amazing Magic Wand study that you and I co-led. How are you feeling today? How are you feeling about this interview?
It's like a full circle moment because it was
Truly.
in the first episode
Yes.
that the idea that you had and executed piqued my interest, and now we are on the whole tail end, well, not the tail, I guess, but, like,
Maybe the
like
middle.
right, who knows? But we have completed the study, done the thing,
Yes.
and ready to share the results.
Oh my God. I'm so ready. As you said, we've been working on this thing for over a year. And
Mhm.
I feel like since my study came out over 2 years ago, I've just been on this roller coaster of getting excited and trying to basically just evangelize the fact that masturbation is health. And we should be talking about it in this way that it's just as important as all these other things. So
Mm,
we're going to get into that today. But before we dive in, let's start with our first segment, which is called The Quick and Dirty. And it's our rapid fire segment where we get to know our expert fast and we're going to get to know basically your thoughts on the topic today really quickly. So,
okay.
the first thing I want to know is what kinds of reactions did you get from people in your life when you told them that you were doing this particular study about masturbation?
Oh, enthusiasm. My mother-in-law and my aunt-in-law, God rest her soul, were both like, "Oh, I wanna sign up." So it was really exciting. Curiosity, people like, "Oh, what you gonna do? Like, what does that mean?" And
Tell me
then
more.
followed that right, tell me more, and then followed by, "Oh, I wanna sign up." So lots of people were just excited about the possibility of the study, even if they didn't make it into participant sample.
Yes, that tracks. I mean, that we're going to explain all about this for gorgeous listeners who have not heard about this study yet.
Mhm.
But I'm curious, you are a doctor, you're a PhD, and if you could prescribe masturbation like a doctor, what would the dosage be?
Okay, that's a great question. I'm trying to think about it. I'm putting my psychology hat on. We don't have prescriptive privileges, but we do often suggest interventions. I would say every other day to begin with,
Ooh.
um, and give it about 20 days, 21 days. So I would give people like, time in between each day to just kind of let the residual effects of it continue.
Right.
And for 21 days, I would like say, okay, let's check back in 3 weeks and see how you're doing in all of these different things that a person might come in to see me about.
Oh, absolutely love it. I also want to mention I am wearing my magic wand earrings
I
today.
should have put mine on.
I know. I feel like we are so lucky to now own these cutie little things, and people, when they look close, are like, "Oh, it's not a microphone. That's a magic wand,"
Right.
which I love. Okay. What is one solo sex myth that you are ready to fully retire?
The
Bury it in the
main
grave.
Right. The main one is that it's shameful. I
Mm,
think that so many people hold on to this idea that they have to be secretive or discreet about having solo sex. And it's like, no, we should be loud and proud about it because there are so many health benefits and it's free.
yeah. Oh my god. Free 99.
Right.
If you have a hand, if you have a pillow, if you have something to hump, listen, it's available to you. I love that. Yeah, not shameful and pleasurable and fun is really the
Mhm.
the gospel we should be spreading. Um, and last rapid fire for the quick and dirty. What is your favorite unexpected benefit of regular masturbation?
Unexpected benefits. Okay, that one is hard because I have to remember the things I know about the benefits are different than what the general population knows.
Totally.
Um, I would say that the sleep, like the
Yeah.
quality of sleep
Right.
benefits are real. I might
Completely.
also talk about pain though, like how it helps with navigating like headache and things like that.
Yes, and period cramps, right? I feel like we
Mhm.
don't really talk about that enough, where it's kind of interesting because when you have an orgasm, right, like your muscles are constricting and kind of like, So it's kind of interesting that that movement in the body, in the vulva in particular, sends these signals basically to your brain to say, decrease that pain because we're feeling good right now.
Yes. Yes. It's like even if the constriction of the uterus is happening, your body's like, you know what? Actually, I'm all right because of
Right.
this.
I love that. It's so crazy that pleasure takes over when pain is happening. Like it's like the body knows that it wants to feel good.
If you can get to pleasure when you're in pain, then pleasure has more power.
Yes.
Mhm.
Mm. And I feel like that's part of your liberation work too, like
Mhm.
emotionally, mentally.
Yes.
Wow.
Mhm.
Wow, wow, wow. All right, we're going to back the truck up really quickly because I would love, Dr. Candice, if you could just walk us through what the Magic Wand Wellness Study actually is and what you think that we kind of hope to find and how, in your opinion, it came to be.
Mhm. So when BB and I got together and talked about her initial project, I was like, this will be so dope to do on a large scale. If y'all listen to the episode, you probably heard me like, what? um, and so basically that's what we got a chance to do. We applied a daily diary study. So that's like longitudinal research over 21 days plus a baseline set of days. So we're just kind of capturing how people are and where they are before they start. And then a conclusion day or set of days where we're like, after this study, how you doing? Where you at? So we have so many, like over 100,000 data points from 1,000 people with vulvas
Yes.
who came with us on this journey, a really diverse sample in sexual identity and race and gender identity and age. And they were like, we are down. We want to be a part of this. So we have indicators like sleep and pleasure and orgasm, but also things like confidence and body image and relationship connectedness that we measured for every single one of those days. And then we got a chance to track how people were doing on average across all those days and if there were any incremental gains in all of these health factors that people don't typically associate with masturbation, or if they do, like if they're sex researchers, they don't usually look at it in a longitudinal way.
Right. Yes, and the whole kind of goal here, right? So like for those of you who haven't heard my study, this was kind of based on my study that I did solo, single subject longitudinal study. Dr. Candice gave me that language and I was like, that's genius. I'm going to say that everywhere I go. Where basically the research question was like, what is the impact of daily magic wand use on my sexual health, but also my overall health and wellness? And so the idea here, the way we set up this study was it was 3 weeks. The first week was abstinence week, which a lot of people will get into this, but like did not like this at
No,
all. People were upset at us,
they
actually.
were upset. My emails were
On
coming
fire.
in like, well, what do you really mean by
Right. Right. It's so interesting. So we'll get into that in a second. But so the first week was no touchy, no touch, abstinence week. Second week was use your magic wand every day. And you're like, your partner can be involved, but like ideally you're just like using it every day by yourself and you're tracking how you're doing. And then the third week was like sex as usual. So go about your business with or without your partner, with or without your toys, with or without your wand. And just like track and see how you're feeling. And the results were just so fascinating. So I'm wondering, like, what kinds of changes did participants report? What, like, stood out to you the most?
Okay. So my favorite one is that during Magic Wand Week, which was in the middle of the whole like study, people experienced more connection with their partner. There were people who were partnered experienced more connection with their partner than they did during the sex as usual week or the abstinence week. And there's this huge myth about like if you use sex toys, if you masturbate, if you engage in solo sex, it's really to take away from the quality of the relationship or your sense of connection with your partner. It's like in competition with your partner as opposed to in collaboration. And we
Mhm.
found with most of our participants, like they really saw it as a collaborative effort and felt closeness, which right now we need more than ever.
100%. Yeah, I mean, I think too, like, the sleep thing surprised me because for
That's what I was
me.
gonna ask, which one
Yes.
surprised you? Yeah.
Yes, I think because for mine, like, sleep really wasn't impacted that much, but I think it also depends on what time of day participants were masturbating. I feel like if we do the study again, which we're in talks to maybe do it again, so stay tuned, we'll see, but I feel like I would wanna ask, like, "Oh, what time of day did you masturbate every day?" Because if it was before bed, then I could totally see maybe the direct impacts, but if it
Yes.
was earlier, maybe did it affect your day and make it calmer, like, there are all these questions I feel like that I had. But yeah, I think sleep as well, and I think there was also, like, productivity or focus, like, pretty much
Mhm.
most or if not all of the quality of life indicators improved.
The stress went down, so psychological stress went down during the whole study. So from
Yes.
abstinence and magic wand and sex as usual, it was kind of the same, but from baseline, stress was up here and then it went down and kind of leveled out. So I think that was really cool.
Can you also speak a little bit to the inauguration of it all and how when we sent out baseline surveys, when was that? And then versus when we started the experiment and about all of the headlines that we were seeing during this time and how that maybe impacted the overall feeling that everyone had during this study?
Yes. So we designed the study pre-election. Let me name that. We were just in our groove, working with our collaborators at Magic Wand and our research assistant Casey V Hill. We were like just getting it right, happily designing this study, waiting to see what the election results would be.
Right.
And then the
Praying.
election occurred, and after that, a month or so after that, we started our baseline data collection. So people are kind of like reeling from the election, but don't really know what's coming yet.
Right.
And so, for the most part, we saw like normal, average, middle of the road levels for people's well being. And then we started the actual study on February 3rd. And so, post inauguration, when people are beginning to see in the first, what, 10 days or so, all of the shit hitting the fan,
Yes.
they are like down in the dumps
Right.
on every indicator. And then we had the nerve to ask them to engage in abstinence. So it was like,
They were like, "Fuck you."
they were like, what?
Yeah.
Like, so that first week, there were so many health indicators that were in the tank. And then as people participated in the study, even though there were so many headlines and things that were still coming at folks, we saw some really meaningful gains. Even though they were statistically significant, they were incremental, but in a way that in a time like this is really meaningful.
Totally, and I think during that time, weren't there, like, over 1,000 headlines with, like, the word stress in
Yes.
it? So crazy, like, how you could even do a whole study about that, about how headlines
Mhm.
are impacting the way that people are engaging with themselves and with their partner and with their sex life, like, there's so much going on around us, and the fact that, as you said, we collected the data, people were like, "Do, do, 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 do. I'm not sure how this is gonna affect me yet, even though I know I know that Trump is the president." And then when we started, it was right after he was elected and right as soon as people were like, "Oh, no, this is gonna be worse actually than the
Yes.
first time around." And, like,
Mhm.
really taking that in and how that impacts people's legitimate daily lives, which is just so, so wild. So let's
And
get in.
something I didn't
Yes.
think about, as you just said that with the headlines. So we looked at so many headlines, but what we didn't look at was social media posts. And I
Right.
wonder, like, because a lot of people get their news and media from social media. So if you're
Mhm.
looking at something like Threads or Instagram or TikTok, and you're getting not just headlines from news media, but people in despair.
All your videos.
Yeah,
So wild,
what
really
a time.
crazy. What what a time. Wish
It
it was
still
another
is.
time.
Right.
Uh, okay, so let's talk about abstinence week because basically what happened was we what had happened was we had like 700, 800 people on this welcome webinar when we were
Mhm.
starting the study to answer questions, get people ready, get them excited about their community that they're doing this with. And without fail, the most amount of questions was some version of, do I actually have to engage in abstinence or can I do this thing? So tell me about that, your experience of that. What kinds of questions came up? And then can you speak to how Abstinence Week actually lowered these quality of life scores? In it, we already talked about the headlines, but otherwise, how come these quality of life scores were so low during Abstinence Week?
So the questions were really related to what level of erotic can I get away with? Like, what's not really like meeting the threshold? What's beyond it? We had a lot of people who identified as queer and who identified as kinky and sex positive overall. And so they were like, eroticism is just a part of my daily well being, like my practice of
Right.
being myself, even if it's not, like what people typically think of as sex. And so I love the idea. I wish I would have captured those emails and questions as data because they
Should have
really were
screenshotted
asking,
it.
right. They were like really negotiating with abstinence and what could be included and what's not. And I think that's not a conversation a lot of people actually get to have when they say I'm participating in abstinence or not. Um, but most of the indicators that we saw, not just because of the headlines and the stresses that were going on, I think, but also just because of engaging in abstinence and taking sex out of your life in that way. Really, we saw lower confidence, body image was lower, happiness, sense of happiness was lower, things that people kind of know if you have a good solo sex practice, but were made real with the data.
Yeah, and it's just so interesting because so many people get this abstinence only education,
Hmm.
and I think that the fact that we're being calling it the 201 crowd, right? Like people who we recruited for this study were mostly already following me and you and Sex with Emily and Erica Moen from Ojoy Sex Toy, and that's where we got a majority of our people to apply.
Hmm.
We had over 5,000 people
Yes,
apply
we did.
for this study. And, because of resources and because of bandwidth, 1,000 was the max that we were for this study able to let in.
Because
But
we
just
were going to do 500 from the beginning, and
yes,
then
and
we
then we
doubled
doubled
it.
it. Crazy. And so I guess with this abstinence thing, like, to me, this makes a lot of sense because as sex educators, sex researchers, right? Like, we know that abstinence is not
Mhm.
good for people. And I think that this just proves that, right? Like, it shows with research that not only do we know with other research that abstinence only education encourages, teen pregnancy or, doesn't prevent teen pregnancy,
No, it doesn't.
it increases STI transmission. It basically makes people feel shame rather than empowered. And so that is proven also here with we're forcing people to have one full week of abstinence. And we also saw that doesn't always work. Some people didn't do it. Can you talk about
Right.
that a little bit?
Absolutely. I need to get the percentage of how many people did and did not participate in what we defined as abstinence. But I think I want to make sure I'm clear that abstinence that you choose versus abstinence that you feel like you have to do, totally
Right.
different things. And a
Yes.
lot of people don't want to engage in abstinence, but they get messages from sex ed, they get messages from certain religious institutions or family members that this is the way to well-being. Like there are these no fat, I think that's the movement.
No
Like
fap. That's right.
right, where it's like you get to preserve your masculine energy or your feminine energy by abstaining. And it's like, do what do we mean here?
Right.
So I think a lot of people struggled with it because they had already done so much mental work to overcome that stigma and shame around masturbation. And then to have it taken away for 7 days for science, and they
Mm,
consented to it. So I don't
right.
want to act like we coerced anybody to do it.
Right.
But like that they felt the effects of that. And some people were like, "Hey, just want to let you know I messed up. Can I still be in the study?" And so we were able to account for like people who had one day where they were like, "Well, my partner came into town, and I like y'all and everything in the study, but what I'm gonna do."
They're like, I'm just letting you know right now, we're gonna fuck. So
We're
don't.
definitely gonna do it. Like, so
Exactly.
do I have to send the magic wand back?
Right, right. Please keep it. Please keep it. Yeah, I will never forget the questions. I just think, I think my favorite question that someone sent in was like, I am a professional dominatrix and I have a scene that's been planned for weeks and it's non-sexual. Can I continue with the scene? And I was like, not in my wildest dreams did I anticipate that we would have to answer this question. Like now I know for next time how exactly we need to share the definition of abstinence,
Yes.
because we also on the research team had a hard time with it. We were like,
Right.
this is tough. Like, we don't want you to get aroused, but people get aroused all the time. And we definitely don't want you to touch yourself or someone else if and when you are aroused. So that was
Yes.
basically the need that we were trying to share there.
And I'm
Um,
curious how your audience defines abstinence for
Me
themselves.
too. Me too. Actually, this is a great opportunity. If you are interested in commenting on this episode or leaving a review and just write your definition of abstinence, like if you were to participate in the study, what would you consider to be a valid definition of abstinence? I'm so curious because, again, we have had trouble with this as people who do this professionally, just because so many people had so many different kinds of questions
I'm gonna
that
have
were
to ask
valid.
my community too, like, what do y'all mean when you say abstinence? I'm
Right.
just curious. Like, what are we
Totally.
talking about here?
Yes. Let's go back to the partner connection stat. So you kind of mentioned, right, like there is this myth that we do know in the sexual health community that if you are partnered, then you not only don't need a sex toy because you are quote unquote satisfied by your partner, but it's actually weird or shameful for you to use one. And I'm wondering if you could explain why you think the partner connection piece increased during Magic Wand Week and what do you think was going on there? And what do you think, especially given the fact that, 70% of our sample identified as something under the queer umbrella, right? Like
Mhm.
what do you anticipate? What do you hypothesize for this?
Yeah, I think one other piece that I would add to some of the reasons people avoid using sex toys when they're in relationships is because of what I mentioned earlier. Like they fear that their partner views it as competition. And so it's insulting to them to suggest the use of a sex toy or to use one. But when you have this scientific rationale for why you get to use a sex toy for 7 days, and your partner's like, oh, well, we're going to do this for science. It's not, it's not about me or my sense of inadequacy. It's about something we're doing because it's fun. I think it changes the frame on how you use a sex toy.
Mm,
And for queer people in particular who are not necessarily looking to have penetrative penis and vagina sex or penis and anus sex, it's like, hey, we always are using toys or things that aid us in sexual pleasure. And that's a normal part of our practice. That is what we mean when we say sex.
mhm.
So I think that, that brings out that sense of connection because people see it as a tool or as a resource. And so I think it gave people an excuse, a justification for seeing it as a tool and as a resource as opposed to as competition or a sign that there's a problem in the relationship.
Yeah, and you made a great point of like if this is two women or two people with vulvas, regardless of their gender identity, they're already using toys and defining that as sex. And so there's a lot less explanation that needs to
Hmm.
happen. And so I think that straight couples can really learn from lesbian relationships and queer relationships in this way because there's so little ego involved and there's just so much desire for everyone involved to have pleasure. And that's kind of it.
Hmm. And I think when people get on board with the contribution to each other's pleasure as whatever you can do to help your partner get there, as opposed to like it has to be this one way and I have to be the person that produces it for you for my ego's sake. You
Yes.
come a lot further.
100%. Looking to explore your pleasure in a supportive, judgment-free way? Lion's Den is the place I go when I want to try something new. Whether that's a beginner toy, a kinky upgrade, or just a little something to spice things up. They've got 50 plus stores across the US, a massive online shop, and expert staff to help you feel confident every step of the way. Head to lionsden.com and use code SEXED with DB for 15% off in-store or online. Go explore. You deserve it. What if using a magic wand every day could actually improve your health? I ran a 21-day masturbation experiment to find out, and the results were so powerful, we turned it into a full-blown scientific study. Over 1,000 people with vulvas joined to measure the impact of daily magic wand use on pleasure, stress, sleep, confidence, relationship connectivity, and more. I'll tell you something right now. The effects go way beyond amazing orgasms. Want to see what we found? Head to magicwandstudy.com to check out the study that's redefining sexual wellness. Let's talk about lube and condoms. Here's a PSA for you. Oil-based lubes and latex condoms do not mix, but Uberlube, total game changer. It's latex compatible, silky smooth, and just 2 drops inside the condom and a pump outside can seriously boost your pleasure. Safe, effective, and sexy. Ready to level up your lube game? Use code SEXEDWITHDB for 10% off at uberlube.com. Let's talk about mental health really quickly, because those were some indicators, and I would love for you to tell everyone, like, what were kind of some of the mental health indicators that we were looking at and what our study tells us about how masturbation supports mental health for people with vulvas.
All right. So when we were looking at mental health or psychological well-being, we had a few indicators: body appreciation, sleep quality, focus, happiness, self-confidence, and your stress. The one that stood out for me the most was about sleep quality because I think is like commonly anecdotally known
Right.
that, if you're trying to get to sleep and you're struggling, then you have an orgasm, sleep's gonna be better, whether it's partnered or solo. So when we found that during abstinence week, sleep quality was the lowest, but then during Magic Wand week, it went up significantly. It
Yeah.
was like, yes, evidence is there because people are using melatonin to get to sleep.
They
They're
sure are.
using, right? They're using apps and things like that, stuff that you have to pay for when, it could be at your fingertips or your pillow
Yes.
top or your magic
Yes.
wand or wherever.
Yes.
So I love that. And sleep is one of the most direct correlates to mental health status overall. So when I'm looking at clients and their mental health, one of the first things I ask in an intake is how is your sleep?
Hmm.
Because it can be a signal to me if they're getting less than 6 hours of sleep or if they're waking up in the middle of the night at 3 or 4 a.m. that they're
Tough.
experiencing anxiety or depression symptoms. So if you're getting better quality sleep, it helps prevent mental health, but it also can help treat it when you're sleeping well and your brain's having time to recover.
Yeah. Yeah, and can you talk maybe a little bit about the body image stuff? Because I think for me, I'll briefly talk about my study. What I remember is from abstinence week to magic wand week, my confidence increased 19%. And I think that it was just so nice to feel in connection to my body and feel like, oh, I'm feeling sexy and I'm feeling like really good with myself. And that I think impacts confidence. I do think impacts similar to sleep, like a lot of aspects of your daily life and how you engage with, your partner, with yourself.
Mhm.
And yeah, what did we find with body stuff?
Yes, and I like this question because it wasn't just about I like how my body looks.
Right. Yeah.
It's
What kinds
like
of questions did you ask?
how I feel about my body.
Hmm.
Like respecting your body, loving your body, not just in look, but in what it can do,
Mm,
and having reverence for your body. And so we saw that at baseline, people were like middle of the road. And then abstinence week, that thing took a significant dive,
yeah.
but it came back up significantly during Magic Wand week. And then it trended upwards through sex as usual and right through completion. So we saw like the significant decline around abstinence and that a sexual pleasure ritual or routine helped bring it back, helped it rebound and continue to go up. And I love that. It's one of those things where intuitively it makes sense that you're attending to your body, taking good care of it by bringing it pleasure and making that a priority in your day to day. But it's also one of those things that I think still needs the evidence base because of some of the stigma.
100%. Yeah. Oh, what a special thing that we are able to talk about and do, and what a cool thing that we and Casey, our researcher, and the Magic Wand team, like all of us have done together. It's just so exciting. I think that there were some really incredible participant reflections that you received and some great quotes that we have. And I'm wondering if there was one or a few that really kind of stuck with you in terms of how people felt about going through this process.
My favorite one is related to body appreciation, and this is coming from a person who identifies as trans masculine. And it says, my experience with the wand was strangely one of gender euphoria. I thought the size of the wand would be a problem, but the fact that there was heavy vibration and I was holding this thing in my hands as if it was another part of me made me imagine it was one. Especially when I listened to erotic audios in my ear, starring women or had men on the receiving end, it made me feel like part of the action. I enjoyed how even feeling overstimulated sometimes made me want more. So, them
So
feeling like their
spectacular.
body belonged to them and that the wand became like an expansive part of themselves, that they could see themselves in sexual erotic content in a different way, that they were able to imagine and receive and experience pleasure. And even I thought about that, we heard some feedback around like overstimulation and thinking of that as like that's a part of their experience of joy in the process. And I was like, wow, this is just dope. So for me, that was my standout quote.
Oh, so special. And I also remember there being like one or two mother-daughter pairs who went through the study.
Yes. Yes. So I know of one, I want to say a mother daughter pair, and they emailed me, dang, I wish I had their, I don't know who's what there were so many emails.
Just thousands of emails.
But they're just like, "My mom and I are going through this." And I've had a chance to travel to a few different places, in the past couple of weeks, and at each stop, somebody was like, "I participated in the magic wand study," or "My mom participated in the magic wand study." And they were just so excited to share that with me. So I love seeing that. Not only was it something we made real and fun from your single case study design to this longitudinal large scale project, but that in real life, people had feedback and they were giving us like praise for just being able to create something like this.
Yes, I am like getting a little teary and a little emotional, just kind of like recognizing that this is a scientific effort and the fact that we are lucky enough and you do this all the time. You're like involved in research projects like this all the time where you're helping people get more pleasure and feel more in tune with their bodies and with their relationship to themselves and with others. And it's
Yeah.
such a special thing that needs to be taken seriously. And I'm so happy that I am your friend and that you're my friend and that we're colleagues and that we're doing this work together.
Yeah, it's been a joy. I mean, our dream team. So Sarah, Casey, you, and I just
Yes.
worked so well together. It was just like it was a dream come true for me. And
Truly.
during a time like this when like science funding is being taken away,
Exactly.
where so many people are really like having their life's work snatched away to be able to do something that contributes to like people's sexual well-being, top tier.
Top tier, Dr. Candice. And speaking of Dream Team, we're going to do this final segment here called Sex Toy Dream Team. We're going to build a little sex toy lineup together to help folks explore this week's topic. So, let's do it together. If we could pick 3 toys and or accessories in total, just 3 that can help folks spice up and expand their solo sex lives with themselves, with their partner, what would you put on there? What are the priorities?
So, one thing I didn't share at the beginning is that I was not a magic wand user, had never used it,
That's
had
right.
never had one. And my favorite toy that I was using, and now I've started using the wand, and it's very
Yes.
lovely. But
Yes.
my toy, my jam was the rose. Like I like a little
The rose.
instruction. Yeah, so I know that one had a lot of play too, a lot of
People love the
popular
rose.
media. And
Yes.
so that would be on my list because I really like direct clitoral stimulation, and so
Yes.
that's like the
I love that. Okay, so let's say the rose. Let's also say whichever magic wand product that you want.
right.
I've been a lover of the original because I love not having to worry about charging my toy and
Mhm.
just plugging it in as soon as I'm using
Points.
it, which is amazing. So I highly recommend you try the original. But for this study, we had people use rechargeables. So if that's your jam, try that. They also have the mini, the micro. Again, like so many different kinds of products.
Rechargeable was cool for me. Like, I liked that type
You
of
like that one?
stimulation, and
Yes.
especially when I was experiencing, like, some, um, menstrual symptoms and things like that. It was nice because it really went over the pad. It was like,
Yeah.
"Pad is here, it doesn't matter."
It's literally the only sex toy that can make you come with your pants on. Like,
Yes.
straight up, which is incredible. Okay, what's one are you like a rabbit person? Like, what do you feel about you're not a rabbit girly, okay. What about, like, your favorite kind of lube or accessory or, like, something that really, like, it does it for you every time? Or you think that people who you do research with really love?
I'm really like, I'm a lube girly for real, and
Yes.
I like a classic KY jelly. Like,
Yeah,
I like something that's a little bit thicker and
sure.
gel based, so for me, if we were putting all of the above, like, I would go in that direction.
I love it.
What would be your extra?
Well, my favorite lube of all time, and they've been a sponsor of the show for over 3 years, is Uber Lube. It's
Mhm.
gyno recommended, like,
Yes.
fragrance-free. We're talking high-class lube here. But the problem is that you can't use silicone lube with silicone toys.
No.
So I think, I would maybe go for, like, some sort of water base. But
Me
yeah, I would
too.
always include a lube in my top 3. Like, whenever people are asking about sex toys, I'm like, you gotta make room for a lube in there because lube adds so much fun. We're talking less friction, more
Yeah.
pleasure. So yeah, I think we're gonna finalize here with the rose, one type of magic wand, and either KY jelly or Uber lube for our top 3. Um, Thank you so much, Dr. Candice, for being here. You're our first episode of the season, which is so much fun. We're doing a whole season all about pleasure. So all the better for us to have you for our first episode. This makes so much sense. And I'm wondering if you can, before you leave us, tell me about your book, which is called Good Sex: Stories, Science, and Strategies for Sexual Liberation, and where people can find it and find you.
Yeah, so this is my debut book, my
Woohoo!
little book baby. I'm so
Show us.
excited because
Yes.
I'm excited because I had a joyful time writing the book, and I've just had a chance to meet so many dope people, connect across the country, and share information not just about like what gets in the way of good sex, but the way that good sex can be a resistance, the way that good sex can help you feel more liberated, the way that we're all worthy of access to all of the things that make sex good to and for everybody involved. So that's what the book is about. And I talk about a lot of fun stuff in there. You can find it on barnesandnobles.com, Amazon, anywhere books are sold. I love people to go to their local bookstore and request it and get it because support local. But it is on Amazon Kindle Unlimited if you have that, or if you have Spotify Premium, you can listen to me on Audible or Spotify Premium for a credit or for free. So those are the options. And I think listening to it is super fun because I sound like myself when I read it.
Yes, I've listened to a few of your chapters on Spotify and just feel so giddy that I get to hear you read your own book. It's so cool. So yes, check out Good Sex. And Dr. Candice, thank you so much for being here. Folks, of course, folks, stick around for the afterglow where we will wind things down. We will reflect on big takeaways and leave you with one juicy thing to try this week. And we will see you next time.
Yeah.
Welcome to the Afterglow. Hello. The first time we're doing this post-interview outro, and I'm so excited for it because I personally really love like key takeaways at the end of podcast episodes. So we're doing it. And that's what this is right now. And you just heard from Dr. Candice Nicole Hargons. I love her. She is so wonderful. I'm so lucky to be colleagues and friends with her and to have led this amazing masturbation wellness study with the magic wand. Here's a reminder. Masturbation is not just a thing that you do when you're alone, and it's not a thing to feel shame about. It is a valid wellness tool. The science is in, the research is in. Masturbation can and should be used just like other forms of health and wellness, meditation, exercise, eating well, going to therapy. Let's include it in our most exciting things that can help our health and wellness and our mental well-being. Our study showed real benefits: better sleep, less stress, more confidence, higher rates of happiness when people were masturbating every day with the magic wand. And solo pleasure can also deepen your connection with yourself and with your partner or partners. It is a no-brainer. Pleasure is not frivolous, it is foundational. Every single week, we're gonna, in the Afterglow, give you a pleasure practice of the week. And I wanna hear from each of you. Email me at sexedwithdb@gmail.com and tell me how your pleasure practice of the week is going. So this week we have the Magic Wand Challenge. There's a 7-day challenge that the Magic Wand has created for you to do this version of the study. We are basically tracking all of these facets of your mood, your sleep, your productivity, etc. When you're masturbating every day with the Magic Wand. And then you get at the end of the 7 days to track and chart how things went for you. You can schedule your daily solo pleasure for 1 week and you notice what shifts. How are you feeling? Is it affecting your period pain? Is it affecting your relationship with your connectivity? Are you feeling sexier in your body? No goal. Don't put pressure on yourself to orgasm. Just be present once a day for 7 days with the magic wand or whatever sex toy that you have available to you, or use your hands. And it's really just about intentionally scheduling that pleasure for and with yourself. So that's your pleasure practice of the week. I'm excited to hear how it goes for you. And we will see you next week. I will be answering a sex ed question all about how to introduce toys in the bedroom with your partner, how to have that conversation with your partner, how to maybe get combo starters so that you don't feel nervous and that you feel empowered to talk about that if your partner is less interested in that. And I'm very, very excited to see you then. Love y'all.